Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about the Resident Evil nuke that got dropped the other day, which was the casting announcement and the plot synopsis for the new live-action Netflix series supposed to be coming later this year. Now that series is currently filming, and this is not good. None of this is good. This looks like a pile of hot garbage, and we're gonna go over all of this garbage. We're going to sift through this shit, and I'm going to sort of give my thoughts. Now, I'm not a hardcore Resident Evil person, but I do know a lot of the base plot. I did play a few of the games. I played the most recent one actually. I really liked Village. Um, but let's dive into this. So the first thing that we found out was that basically they released the entirety of the cast list, and the cast list for this is Lance Reddick and his harem of bitches. let's just call it what it is. So Lance Reddick, who a lot of people probably remember, he's a very prominent like character actor. He's been in the John Wick movies. He was in a lot of television shows like Fringe. Um, and he's a really good actor. I like Lance Reddick, but they're having him play Albert Wesker, who in every iteration of the character has always been played by a white dude with hair, and Lance Reddick is a bald black guy. So it's kind of odd that they're doing that. And then on top of that, all of the other characters in this seem to be original characters, at least as far as I can tell. Now, this also factors into the plot synopsis, and the plot synopsis is really where this thing hits a wall. So this is via Deadline, and according to Netflix, the series will take place across two different timelines, before and after the outbreak of the deadly T virus that turns people into zombies. The first timeline will follow Albert Wesker's two 14-year-old daughters, Billy and Jade, who moved to New Raccoon City, a town full of dark secrets that they begin to suspect their father is involved in. The second timeline follows a 30-year-old Jade as she fights to survive in a world overrun by zombies with fewer than 15 million humans surviving worldwide. Um, Now, the two different timelines thing has been done in other media before. It's not necessarily a terrible plot device, but I think in this scenario it's not great because you're going from what would you would assume to be a high school drama slash mystery setting and jumping to zombie apocalypse. So it's a little odd. It reminds me a lot of that shitty Netflix, not Netflix, that shitty AMC Walking Dead spinoff, Walking Dead: The World Beyond, or whatever the hell it is. Reminds me a lot of that, and not in a good way, not in a good way at all. So this is also messing with a lot of the events from the game canon, where it's saying that these events are seemingly taking place. I think it's supposed to be like 2008, and then the 16 years later section is supposed to take place in the early 2020s. But regardless of that, it looks like even though they don't really list it on IMDb, the two daughters I believe are going to be being played by Ella Balinska. I hope I am pronouncing that right, Ella Balinska, and Tamara Smart, since they are the two young. Excuse me, since they are the two youngest cast members. So here's my big problem with this. Resident Evil is a series that is made on running through buildings and shooting zombies. I don't understand why people try to hammer teen high school dramas into shit about zombies. Because nobody fucking cares. You have stuff like High School of the Dead, which is different. It is not. It is not necessarily a quote unquote high school drama, and it's also done in anime, which is a medium that you can do a lot of different things in and get away with it. Film and television, not so much. But here's the other problem here is that you're not just the race swap of Albert Wesker, but the fact that you don't appear to be bringing in any other characters. You're just adding original ones. Um, so really, why even bother calling this a Resident Evil series? Because it's not. It's not a Resident Evil series. You slapped Resident Evil on it because you knew it would sell because the new game was coming out and everybody's pushing out media about this. Netflix has, I think, an anime going on with that as well, and a movie and a few other things. Or not. The movie is not at Netflix. The movie I think is getting released theatrically. Um, but that reboot film is getting done as well. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of Resident Evil stuff coming out right now because everybody wants to monetize on it, not just because of the resurgence in the games, but because of other successful stuff that has been done in the past. Now, there are ways that they could have fixed this because the original plot line, I believe, was supposed to be that the two girls had to like travel cross country and whatever. It's like in the games, Albert Wesker did have kids. He had a son, who you get to play, Jake, I believe, and you get to play as him as Resident Evil 6 and maybe one or two other games. Um, but he didn't have twin daughters, and the whole plot to this sounds terrible for a Resident Evil fan. And again, it feels like this is the problem that Hollywood has is you don't design projects around your viewer base. And if you don't design projects around your viewer base, you wind up with no viewers. Because the people you're trying to get to come into this want no interest in it, and the people that are going to have interest in it want nothing to do with it because of how horribly you fucked it up. And Netflix has done this many, many times in the past with other properties, sometimes successfully and sometimes not. They've done stuff in the past that hasn't been too bad, in terms of adaptations and things like that, but they're few and far between. Most of them turn out like this. Because you got people that don't know what they're doing, and you got people that are rookies. Looking at the writing staff for this, nobody has more than a few credits. The only person that has a large amount is, I think, the main writer, who is credited with, I think, 43 episodes of Supernatural. Like, that's the only thing that kind of is a bright spot in this, is that they have that writer. But there's also balanced out with four other writers, and chances are that writer did not work on all of these episodes. Which, by the way, we don't. When I don't recall if they actually released how many episodes are going to be in the season. I think they said 8, but I could be wrong. But this just looks like a train wreck, and the writer I was thinking of was Andrew Dabb from Supernatural. So he's the only kind of bright light in this whole thing. Every other part of this looks like shit. Now there might be ways that you could have tweaked this, switched up the cast, done other things. One idea that I had off the top of my head was, and even though I know that this character is Caucasian, you could have had Lance Reddick. You could have gone with a like a Doom type, well, maybe not like a Doom 3 type of thing, where like, okay, so it's like the Escape from Raccoon City. You could have done that. You could have done that, and you could have had Lance Reddick be a hero for a change in a movie instead of just being a side character or a bad guy or a pseudo bad guy. You could have had him be the main star. This could have been a excuse me. This could have been a project for him that would have been interesting because you could have put him in a role that we would have not necessarily seen him in before. Because I think that you could have made him Hunk. Now, I know Hunk is Caucasian in the games, but 99% of the time he's wearing that helmet and gas mask, so you can't really see him. And even in his first appearances, you couldn't really see him. So I don't really think that it's that big of a deal if you change him up. I think he could have worked in that, and I think it would have been interesting because you could have started him out in the suit, and then he takes off the helmet at some point, or the helmet gets damaged and he has to remove it or something. Then you could have had all the horror elements of Resident Evil, had him walking around in the sewers. You have a bunch of other stars guys that are kind of disposable. They get picked off over the course of the show. Um, or you could have had each episode be a different mission or something like that. You could have done a lot of things if you decided to make him that character, or just make a different thing. Don't tread on Resident Evil. Instead, just make something original. Make something different. Don't slap a franchise tag on it just because you think it's going to make money, because half the time it's just going to mean that the projects that come after it are not going to make any money in addition to that project. So it's an overall bad idea. The plot synopsis is terrible. The casting is asinine. By the way, the casting director for this also casted the first Resident Evil, Resident Evil Retribution, and Resident Evil: The Final Chapter, if anybody was interested. Very, very, very prolific casting director. A lot of casting director credits, but at the same time, you casted those movies. So those movies Some castings were good, some castings not so much. But regardless of that, it doesn't look good so far. I'm not excited for a trailer. When a trailer does come out, I will watch it. I'll do a breakdown of it because it's probably going to be crap. It's probably going to be horrible shit. And the other thing is that I don't see, other than maybe like the stuff in the future part of the timeline, I don't see there being much gunplay or action and stuff like that. It's probably going to be mostly a mystery plot line, which again, for a Resident Evil thing, you can have mystery, but it should be wound in with zombie killing action and stuff like that, or at least some survival horror elements and things like that mixed in, as opposed to just drama. Somebody coined it on Twitter actually very well. It says Raccoon City 90210, which is literally what it looks like. But that's just kind of my opinion. I want to know what you guys' opinions are on this. I think overwhelmingly most Resident Evil fans think that this thing looks like garbage, but I want to know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments below as usual. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?